Okay, so I'm outside this coffee shop and I'm ordering coffee, talking to this Filipina. My girlfriend's Filipina as well, and she's really flirty and she's like, hey, do you want to come back to my place? And I'm like thinking, nah, man, because a real man, as Del Piero said, a real man never leaves his lady outside the stadium of the old lady herself, Juventus. But we're not going to the game today. We're actually just going to the museum, and for relationship purposes, no Filipino was spoken to. No girl told me to go back to us and just stay. Yeah, so I got some hours to keep before my flight. So Juventus Museum, the biggest team in Italy. We'll find out by the end of the tour. Apparently this is the most important room in the museum, and speaking of big clubs, Juventus, according to the information, has been the first club in Europe to win all international trophies. Okay, so Juventus was founded in 1892 by some school friends. They sat actually on a bench. When they sat on this bench, and due to football that had gone in Turin and Genoa had been the first football cricket club, they dedicated to Britain and stuff. They wanted to establish their own football team, so they did, and they called it Juventus, which is a Latin word for youth. The club's first colours were pink, which is cool because we see a lot of pink Juventus kits today, away kits, and it's interesting that the first ever colour was pink, and they actually became black and white when they played Notts County from England, Sol Campbell. And basically it's quite interesting. So the club's very first president, Eugenio Canfari, he had a dispute with the club, and then he went over, took the best players and formed their local rivals, Torino. Turning point for the club. So at the time, football, people did it for no pay, they loved the sports, a hobby, and Juventus had only won one league title in 1905. So he came in 1923. By 1926, Juventus had won the second league title. He had transformed the club, brought in a first official coach, more training sessions, and decided to recruit players from South America with the already talented squad they had. And then between 1930 and 1935, Juventus won 5 titles in a row, and it was a massive contribution to Italy winning the first World Cup in 1934. And between 1930 and 35, Juventus' dominance led them to becoming like the myth of the girlfriend of Italy, because everyone was in love with them, which became the lady. And as time has gone on from 1930 to now 2022, people age, the old lady has grown, and now she is, as Juventus own today, a massive club with the help of the radio. The radio became big in Italy in the 1930s, and Juventus, as mentioned, they had won 5 league titles in a row. Now, obviously, people listening at home, it's most popular television wasn't big that day, you know, so a lot of people tuned into the radio and they listened to Juventus always winning, so it was able for the fan base to spread around the country and around the world. And similarly, in Flamengo in Brazil in the 1950s, the same thing. They entered a period of dominance in the 50s, whereas the radio grew in Brazil, and now today, because of this, and over time, they've got a massive fan base as a result of the radio. And probably the same if you look at probably other teams throughout history, they've probably got a massive fan base because they entered a time of dominance when the radio was like... Italy won 2 World Cups between 1934 and 1938, and while the one in 1934 is great because it had 9 players, as mentioned, Juventus had won the league between 1930 to 35, and so by the time the World Cup they had won it 4 years in a row, so they had 9 first team players in the 1934 team that won the World Cup. Me and Marcello Lippi. Marcello Lippi is the bollocks. He's probably the greatest Italian football manager of all time. He won the World Cup with Italy in 2006, and so the 1980s for Juventus was really pivotal. They had Italy won the World Cup in 1982, right? You had Paolo Rossi, then you had Michel Platini, plus you had a lot of other World Cup winners in the team, right? And they had finished the 1970s strong. They had won the UEFA League, the Europa League in 1977, the Scudetto in 1978, the Coppa Italia in 1979, and now the 80s brought about a new Juventus. So they had won the Scudetto in 81, 82, 84, and then in 85 was the big one. They went on to win the Champions League. So Juventus, they've got 7 players in the history who have won the Ballon d'Or. An Argentinian in the 1960s, Paolo Rossi, Italian, Michel Platini, French, Roberto Baggio, Italian, by just free kicks. He actually went on to play for AC Milan and Inter Milan. He's a bit, sort of like Pirlo, he's a bit everywhere, that guy. Zinedine Zidane, Aaron Neville was mentioned, and was mentioned as well as Fabio Cannavaro. Was the second time Juventus had won the European Cup in their history. They had beat Ajax 5-3 in penalties after the score and finished 1-1. Juventus' greatest ever player, I would definitely say 1, okay, while there's been Zinedine Zidane, for example, Vialli, Baggio, Paolo Rossi, but it's not. It's just about scoring goals. That's what they've done, and that's what Del Piero did. Firstly, he scored the goal for them in the 1996 European Cup to take it to penalties versus Ajax. Secondly, he stayed at the club during the hard times, especially in 2006 during the Calcio scandal where they got caught match fixing. Juventus were relegated to Serie B. A lot of players left, like Cannavaro, Lilian Turin, but Del Piero, he stayed. He was like, "No, I'm not leaving," and there was actually strong interest from Manchester United at the time. And I'm going to take my hat off for this because this is incredible. So basically, Manchester United wanted to sign him, but he would not leave Juventus. And it was basically, I'm not sure on the court case, so I don't know how accurate this is, but he was something like, "I'm not going to leave because a real man never leaves his lady." Juventus as the other lady. So he decided not to leave. He stayed with Juventus, got them promoted, went on to win them another Scudetto, and he just stayed at the club to his retirement. I mean, legends. I mean, okay, look, he scored all these goals to get them back up to Serie A and everything. But he to stay during the time when everyone left and the club needed you the most. I mean, I don't even think that would happen today. He is actually really inspiration to Juventus' history. Firstly, he's got over 300 appearances for the club. And secondly, after the Calcio scandal and Juventus got promoted again, it would be a long 6 years before they'd win the Scudetto. So, and they won it again in 2011, 2012. And Antonio Conte, he marked the beginning and the end, sort of like the alpha and the omega of the Juventus' history. So he won the Scudetto 2011, and I believe they continuously won it for like, what, 8-9 years in a row? 9 years in a row, yeah, from 2012 to 2020, right, 2021. Sorry, 2020. 1920 was the last season, right? And basically he started it, and they lost out on the 2020-2021 title to Inter Milan, who was managed by Antonio Conte. Literally started their reign and ended their reign. Honestly, I absolutely love him. Incredible manager. And yeah, after he left, then Massimo Allegri came in. So yeah, and then Maurizio Sarri as well, and their brother for a bit. But at the moment, Juventus, they've lost the league title as well now in 2021-2022 to AC Milan. So I think they're in a bit of transition. And there's this guy who I'm a big fan of who they signed. So let's see. Okay, so tour-wise, it was good. I mean, it was 15 euros a ticket, which was great. And besides that, I think for 15 euros, it's a good value. You get to see all the club shirts throughout its history. You get to see like important figures of the club, the formation of the club, all the trophies they've won, which I think is really cool. Especially as a football fan, because if you haven't seen like trophies actually in person, they're actually quite big and it's quite nice to see. My critique of it is as critiques about it. It's got like all this political stuff about the wider society, but it just doesn't elaborate on it. Okay, there was immigration in the 90s, but when is Juventus involved in this, the club? Were they pro-immigration? Were the fans anti-immigration? Did they use like, you know? Anyways, what does annoy me is the fact of, look at this now compared to this. It's quite sad. And basically, the thing that the bottom says, because football has grown, there's more fans worldwide, so it's more recognisable. I personally believe it's more to do with marketing and profitability, and the football clubs now, it's such a massive business that like stuff like this now you can market better, you can put it on like fashion, clothing, you know what I mean, rather than a badge. People will be like, oh, okay, you know what I mean, it's easier to market a brand for other countries in the world. They mention a lot of like politics, but I don't feel like they mention the relationship between the wider state and Juventus, which is a shame. But besides that, I mean, it's very straightforward, and it's nice because it's written in Spanish, for fuck's sake, written in Italian, and it's also written in English.